And we're live. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Mojo Show, your real estate podcast where we talk about everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
This week's episode, we are focusing on refinancing your mortgage, which can be a powerful tool, but not all refinances are created equal. So today, we're breaking down the two most common types of refinances: rate and term and cash out, and how to know which one is right for you. But of course, before we get to all that, a little coffee talk with the Joes this morning.
Well, Joe, I wanted to bring up something different, but the intro music that we just listened to has been awesome for our show. I love it. I love everything about it. But we've got some critics and different things that come across on our social medias that says copyrights and things like that. So, we've had our really good friend, Nash Paradise, the Lone Wizard, if you don't know him. He has come up with a couple of different genres of music, and I think he did like 20 of them for us or something.
Probably, yeah.
I was looking forward to it today, Joe. I thought you had it in there.
I did not get the opportunity to do the new soundbite for the start of the show, which I'm thinking about changing up the whole intro of the show, actually. So we'll have to see what comes of it all. But hopefully during the month of October we can get the new tunes in line for.
I would love that, because I think some of them were really good, and Nash, I love you, but there were some of them that were really way off, buddy.
Good morning, sir.
Here. Justin Huff, our buddy down in Victoria, Texas, already making comments. I love it.
Yeah.
So, but Joe, seriously, the coffee talk real quick before we get into refinances, because honestly, what I want to talk about makes sense for people to possibly look at a refinance. And that's doing work to your house to update. And the thing is, Tina and I are buying a house up here in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I'm still doing loans in Texas, guys. I'm still going back and forth to Texas, but we have decided to do it ourselves. And so on a standpoint of, is it smarter to do painting, deck staining, which that's a whole different topic that I got into a fight with my wife this weekend about, because, when you see a deck and you're like, staining, that doesn't take very long.
That's bad. Yeah.
An hour. Well, 4 gallons of stain, and 2 days later, we finally got it done. So, underestimated that one a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Is it smarter to pay somebody to do the work if you have the skills to do it yourself, based on timing, where your work that you do to make income, you're taking away from?
That's a good one. That's a good one. And I'd be curious what other people that are listening in, what they think as well on this. Now, I've always been one that, whether it's fixing the house, like you're saying, painting or something, light fix or whatever it is, or your car or what have, if I have the knowledge and the skill set to know how to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to pay somebody when I already have the knowledge. Now, if I got to drop a transmission out no, I'm not going to be doing that. Right.
That's not light work. That's very heavy work when you do that stuff.
No, but if I'm doing brake pads and rotors and stuff like that, I mean, absolutely, yank a radiator out, put a new one in. Yeah, absolutely. But
there it is. Justin Huff's already got it. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. I like that comment. But when it comes to painting the house, I'm always like, oh, painting, I love, I feel accomplished. I feel like I made my house better. It was something that I can take pride in every time I walk in.
Mm-hmm.
I always think that. And then I start the prep work. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself again? I want to know how many of our viewers feel that same way. Like, give us a love, give us, if you love to do work, give us a love that you feel accomplished. Give us a like if you feel like, I love the accomplishment, but the same thing. I get like irritated because of all the prep work. So the painting is the only thing in my mind in the end result.
Right.
I start doing it again.
The
So,
prep work takes the most amount of time.
oh man,
Mine, it does. And for me, that's where I get frustrated because I'm a perfectionist. I know it's a surprise to you, but I'm a perfectionist. So
never knew that about you.
I I gotta have it right, and the edges, when I'm painting, I gotta have them edges crisp, right? And so I get frustrated with that, especially if I'm doing trim work, right? If I'm doing trim, that's just I'm done.
Well,
Right?
and that's the other thing. I told her we were going to hold off on the trim, and then I'm watching something yesterday on YouTube or whatever, and
you're like,
oh,
I can do it.
Oh, that trim, just spray it on. It's good.
Yeah,
we're going to still not do that yet. We're going to go back and do the trim later when we replace the doors.
Yeah.
so that's the one thing. But this episode today, I'm really excited about it because I cut my teeth in this industry with refinances only.
Mm-hmm.
And, what we can all say it's a dirty word, subprime, whatever. Yes, it was a dirty word when we had the crash in the market because we got a little too liberal and risky on the loan products.
Yeah. Yep.
But refinancing for different reasons is a great thing to do. It just depends on the situation. And again, working with a professional, not somebody that's just trying to throw you into a loan, means more. Because I've talked buddies out of refinancing, I've talked them out of shortening terms because they had 5 or 4 kids under the age of 5. Like there's a lot of things that go into those conversations. So let's jump in today, Joe, because the first one that I want to talk about and I want to ask some questions is rate and term refinancing.
Right.
Okay?
Simple and easy.
Right. So, what is rate and term refinancing? Explain that to our clients so that way they understand what a rate term is.
Well, essentially what you're doing is you're replacing your existing mortgage with a new one, usually to lower your rate or change the term or both, and if you want. So you could take, if you're in a 30-year and you've been in it, say 3 or 4 years, you could cut it down to a 20-year mortgage, or if your budget can allow it, you could take it down to a 15-year mortgage, right? So it's a great way because when you look at, and I've shown this to a lot of people, what their current, when we were doing refis, especially back when, they were big, because I cut my teeth on them too, on refis. And in doing so, to be able to explain to a client that, look, here's your loan amount. And at this interest rate, here's how much interest you're going to spend over the life of the loan, right? Now, you're probably not going to be in it for all 30 years. You're probably going to refinance it. But if you were to stay in this loan the entire time, here's how much money you would spend in interest. Now, if we shorten it to a 20-year, or maybe here's how much. It's amazing. I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending upon the size of the loan, that you're saving in interest.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Just cutting the term down.
And that's the one thing, like, today, a 15-year rate, they're back in the fives, they're not going to be in the low fives or anything like that, but they're back in the fives. And, if you're sitting at a 7% interest rate right now, and you've been, in the house for, let's say 3 years, because 2022, March of 2022 is when rates really started going back up, right? Yeah. So you were in the 5% in that, and you probably got up to the 6s. So you might be in that range, but 2023, especially November of 2023, you're probably looking at, 7.5. I've got some that were like 7.9.
Yeah.
So you might be able, if that payment for you today at that higher rate on a 30-year term, and you've been in it for 2-3 years, is not strapping you on a monthly basis, we might be able to keep your payment the same on a 15 or 20-year note.
Yeah.
And now you're knocking off 7 years or possibly more.
Right.
And you get to keep the same payment. So, that's why I really like rate term refinances, even in the market we're in. It might not be dropping your interest rate. And, everybody needs to get off we're going to be able to get back into the 3s and the 2s. And guys, we're not getting there. Nobody is forecasting that coming anytime soon.
Right.
I don't think I'll see it again in my lifetime. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to say in my lifetime. And guys, when I say lifetime, I mean in retirement and death, which, hopefully I live for another, let's go 40 years, because I really don't want to go much more than 90. So, but, the thing on that is, if I can have my house paid off and save 7 years of interest, because that's what you're doing, it makes sense. And so, looking at it to just lower payments, that's if your budget and you're strapped. But if you can lower that term and keep that same payment, it makes sense for you to look at it, because you're going to break even quicker and you're going to save that interest over that time period. And I would love to know, and Joe, I don't know this one, and I don't know if you do, is thanks, Mike. I'm sorry, I had to show this one. Wow, 90-year-old Joe. I feel bad for everybody that would talk to me at that age. So, but if the budget is strapping you and you need to lower the payment, going with another 30-year, adding on those 2 or 3 years back onto your mortgage, that's not a bad thing either. So it's all about your situation and making sure that somebody you're talking to is asking the right question.
So I just, while you were talking, Joe, I thought I'd throw up some numbers real quick here. And if I just did an amortization schedule of a loan amount, 350,000. I figure that's a average size, right? 350,000.
That's about the average loan size we have for the branch.
Right. So 30-year term at 7.5%, I figured, right? Just the total interest paid out, $531,000.
Stop scaring our listeners here, Joe.
Sorry. Now, if you put that into a 20-year, we're not going 15 yet, but just a 20-year, and reduce the interest rate by 1%, so we're bringing it down to 6.5%. The same 350,000 total amount of interest paid out through the life of the loan through the 20 years, 276,000.
Almost half, folks. To just drop 10 years off of that mortgage.
Exactly. Right. That's the difference in doing a refinance rate and term. What's really cool. Let me do the 15-year. Oh, wow. 198,000 in interest over the life of the loan. So that's amazing.
It is. And as we're going through this, right, people are wanting to either buy a new house, bigger house, if you're a first-time home buyer, but if you've been in that house and it's kind of that one that, hey, I don't see myself leaving, or hey, I know I'm going to live here for another 7+ years, 7 to 10 years, and then I'll sell. Going to the lower term rate is a great thing for you, because you have more equity in your home when you go to sell it in 7 years. Now, if you're looking to sell your house in 2-3 years, pay more towards the principal versus refinancing. Because if you can make one extra payment a year, right? So, if your payment's $1,000, divide that by 12, and if you add that to your principal every month for a year, then you're knocking off 7 to 8 years usually. Yep. And if you do that for every year all the way up to 30, it's not just one time, guys. Right. People always misunderstand that. But if you make one extra payment every year on that mortgage, you'll have it paid off in about 22 to 23 years on a 30-year term. So there is another way of doing some of it to save some equity in that shorter term. But on the long term, if you're staying in there for 10 years or more, looking at that 20-year and that 15-year right now is a very smart play for you. And
the interest rates go down. Yes.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it is we can also wrap in closing costs depending on the equity you have in your house after an appraisal. Okay. We can wrap in your closing costs. Now, the state of Texas right now, rate term refinances, if you're having to bring your closing costs to the table and you're escrowing, it's a little bit more difficult because your taxes in Texas are higher. They're due in December, but you would get your escrow account back. There's different ways we can work it. So there's also some pros and cons to everything. So, here at the Mojo Show, we're going to tell you both. So,
yes.
But I really do think everybody right now, if you're at a 6.5 and higher on a conventional deal, you need to start planning. You
Mhm.
need to talk with your mortgage professional or hit up Joe and I, and let's discuss what is the plan. When is the right time? Because our systems are smart enough to help us make what's called a strike rate.
Mhm.
So we can put in there a rate, kind of like stocks, right? I want to sell if it hits this price. Same
Right.
thing with us. We can put in that interest rate. And when it gets to that rate, because we built out a plan, guess what? It'll pull up, give us an alert. We'll call you up. We'll get it done.
Right.
If you don't have somebody doing that for you, it's the same thing with your portfolio. You don't have somebody watching your portfolio and selling and buying at the right times, your portfolio might not be moving the way you want it to.
Now, when in talking about rate and term refinancing, you can those are two great reasons to do this, but there is a third one as far as doing a rate and term refinance, and that's getting rid of PMI.
Yep.
Right? Another great reason, because most likely if you've been in the home for 3-4 years now, right, then the value of your home has gone up, the balance of your mortgage has gone down, and there's a good opportunity if you're currently paying PMI because you only put, you were able to put 5%, 3%, whatever down. There may be a good opportunity in getting a new appraisal done, which will happen when you refinance, to be able to be at that 80-20 loan level, right?
Yeah.
So you may be able to get rid of PMI with that, which if you're paying, $80-$100 a month, that's beneficial as well as lowering the interest rate.
The other part about that, let's say you can't get the PMI off of there, right? Because we want houses to appreciate, and I'm going to bring up a sore subject. There are certain areas where your house is not appreciated where you think it should. And you might have bought the house 2 years ago for $220,000, and now it's appraised for $230,000. You still moved in the right direction. It's just
Yes.
not as high as you wanted to because 2 years ago you'd buy a house with the limited inventory, and all of a sudden it's worth $30,000 more. We are seeing that in the market today. We're seeing not a decrease in decrease in the home values. We're seeing a market correction of the overappreciated values that we had. And back in 2007 and 2008, we had a crash because it appreciated so hard, especially in Arizona, California, Florida, those areas when they were appreciating at 50+% every year. They called it a crash. Again, it was a market correction, and now it's back up to where it should be. But that we are seeing that in pockets in different areas. So, but you could still, if you only increased it, say $5,000-$10,000, that might not get to the whole PMI off of there. But maybe you go from an FHA to a conventional, help on that interest rate a little bit, and the MI is cheaper because your credit's gotten better because you've had a mortgage on there. There's a bunch of different factors that people don't always think about that could still help you save money or lower that term. And the MI on a lower term on a conventional deal is also better than what the MI is on a 30-year term. So there's different ways to look at it. And again, I want you guys, I'm putting it up there, Joe. I'm going to go jump ahead a little bit. Here's our email addresses. Hit us up because we want to help you guys understand that. And I know we're talking a lot about rate term right now, and we'll jump over to cash out, but it's the time to start building a plan if you haven't already. Hit us up. Here's our email addresses because we want to talk about your situation, customize something for you, and then come up with the plan on when it's right.
Because it may not be right today for you to do it, right? And we'll tell you that. But to be able to put a plan together so that we know, as Joe said, that we can put a strike rate on it so that we know when the interest rates get to a certain point, then it makes financial sense to look at refinancing. It may be today, right? It depends upon your situation. If not, then let's put a plan together so that you're coming out with the understanding, the education to make the right financial decision for you and your family.
Yep. Yeah. And guys, put some comments in there, let us know if you have questions about rate term refinances as we move on in the show. Ask simple questions or give us a scenario and we will try to answer that as we're going through this.
Sure.
So, but Joe, let's kind of go to the next one, right?
All right. Cash
I
out.
think we talked about rate terms, cash out. So I did it again. I'm catching myself. I'm trying not to say all the time. But on a cash out, Joe, what is one of the big things that you like about the cash out and when somebody should be looking into it?
Hey, so for me at least, when both of us kind of cut our teeth on refis, and this is where I felt that I was doing so much good in helping people in doing debt consolidation, right? Be able to take credit card debt and roll it in, because I know some people think that, you're just exchanging one debt for another debt, but really what you're doing is you're exchanging bad debt for good debt. And in doing so, some people think, well, I can pay that credit card off in the next couple of years. Yeah, you haven't paid it off in the last 5 years, so you're not going to pay it off in the next couple of years either. So stretching it to a 30-year term or a 20-year term, whatever, because in a cash out refinance, you can shorten the term, just
Yep.
so we understand that, right? But I want you to think about this, everyone. When considering debt consolidation, and you're looking at consolidating some of your credit cards, please understand that the payment schedule on credit cards are typically 20 to 30 years. No joke, 20 to, so it's really the same thing as a mortgage. It's just labeled different.
Yeah.
It's
And
just called a credit card.
The debt consolidation, like you said, it does take bad debt, and does it really make it good debt? No, but it makes it good debt when it comes to the interest rates are lower. It makes it good debt because you've already spent it. It's not like you're going out and spending more debt. You're just consolidating it. The nice thing about doing it with a mortgage is you get to write that interest off, possibly talk to a tax person, but you get to write that interest off. So that's why we're saying it makes it a good debt, because you already got the debt. Now we're just making it to where it's going to help you benefit a little bit off of your income, the taxes that you're paying on it. The other thing it does is I'm a big believer, Joe, and I don't know if you are. When it came to me helping clients when I would consolidate their debts, I only use their minimum payments on those credit cards to show them their savings. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of loan originators and people like, oh, well, how much do you pay on this card? Oh, you pay $200 a month. Well, that minimum payment only shows like 120, right? Because I want to show you what your true savings is based off of the minimum payments. Because if you're paying a little bit over, great, you're paying a little bit over, but you're really still not shrinking that time on that credit card because you're making $20 or $40 more on the payment because of the way that credit card interest is compounded.
I used to love it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. Finish.
No, go.
So I used to love it when I could take someone's debt like that and roll it into the mortgage and be saving them like $1,500 to $1,800 a month.
Yep.
I mean, that's essentially that's almost a mortgage payment, right? And so then to be able to take all of that and then shrink the term down to like 20 years, and they're still saving like $500 a month, if not more, right? And they're shortening the term.
Now, so when you did that, Joe, everybody gets into credit card debt for different reasons, right? Mm-hmm. It's either you like luxury vacations and you use it on a credit card and you pay that credit card over time.
Healthcare bills, whatever.
Right, healthcare bills. Or sometimes you're using it to buy groceries, using it for gas to get to work because you're short on your checks. Mm-hmm. There's different situations in that. And, when you're looking at consolidating all your debt with a cash out refinance, making sure that you understand lowering the term or applying that extra $1,500, if that's what it is, towards the principal, if you can, is a smart play. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because if we can save you, let's say we put you on a 30-year rate, 30-year mortgage, excuse me, and we're saving you $1,000 a month in just the credit card payments alone with the new mortgage payment. Well, if you apply $500 to $750, so you're still pocketing $250 to $500, If you put that into towards principal every month, well, guess what? Now you're shortening that 30-year term probably to a 20-year or less, and you're saving on that interest. So there's other ways that you can use that savings versus just trying to hold on to it, because we're all creatures of habits. Yes. And if you got yourself into debt, you might get yourself into debt again. So if you apply that mentality of putting it towards that, you'll have that asset again if you ever need to use it.
Yes, absolutely. It's great how it frees up cash flow for people.
Yeah, but let's turn the tables, right?
Okay.
I pay my credit cards off monthly. I don't need a consolidation loan. What's another reason that I would look for a cash out refinance?
Well, when we talked earlier, home improvements.
There you go.
Absolutely, man. That's a great use for it.
I mean, homes now, I mean, I know there's a bunch of new builds out there and things like that, but I'm buying a house that was built in 2005. Sounds very strange to me to say in 2005 I'm looking to upgrade it, because I would have, when I bought my first home, it was, in 2002. And, so I still think that those are newer homes. That's 20 years old. Yeah. The appliances are 20 years old.
Right.
Different things are getting there. So if your house is 2010 and older and it hasn't been updated, that might be the right time for you to look into a cash out. Now, I know you're at that 2.75 interest rate and you don't want to touch it. There's other ways to get cash out with a refinance. It's a second mortgage that you can do something on. So don't be scared about where your rate is to talk with somebody about, hey, I want to do a cash out to do improvements. Things get expensive now. Air conditioners. My brother just put one in his house. $20,000 later, wow. That's how much a new air conditioner costs. I've got buddies in the HVAC companies. I mean, we've had Kenny Williams on here. You remember Kenny?
Yep.
I mean, they do a great job of trying to discount, but they're anywhere from 15 to 20,000, depending on how many units and how big of a unit you need.
Maybe the kitchen needs to be updated, right? Yep. Or new flooring put in, rip out the carpet, put in, wood flooring and stuff. And that's a great thing about doing this, is that in taking the money out of the equity of your home to be able to do improvements to help increase the value of your home is what it's doing. Yep. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And don't wait. The one thing I try to tell people too is don't wait to do these improvements when you want to sell the house.
No,
because the biggest thing that irritated me when we did it, last August, when we painted the house, we did some updates and things like that, was
you didn't get to enjoy it.
Why didn't we do this before? And it was because we were trying to max out the dollar that we would get on somebody buying the house. When you walk in, you want that wow factor.
Yeah.
Well, if you do it now in 2 years, you might have to just update the paint, but everything else is still looking really nice.
And meanwhile, you get to enjoy those updates.
Yes. So I recommend doing it sooner than later. Enjoy it for, if you're looking to sell it in 5 years, do it now, because then that stuff's only 4 years old by the time you get it all done, but you got to enjoy it for 3 to 4 years.
And if you do it right, when you talk to Joe and I, as far as setting up the right plan for whether it's a cash out refi or perhaps a HELOC or a closed-end second, whatever it is, I can tell you the interest rates on those are going to be less than you going out and put it on some Home Depot card. Okay. That's going to be 20-25% interest rate. So, let's use right math and common sense in handling the finances with your home and positioning it properly.
So I'm gonna give you a pro tip for a second.
Yeah.
You know what? If you can save 25% on putting it on a Home Depot card or a Lowe's card, do the refinance, have the cash to be able to pay that card off after you get that discount. That way you're not worrying about the interest that card would, eat up on that savings. So you can still get the benefit of those discounts if you put it on that card. Just have the money on the cash out to be able to pay that card off quicker.
Right.
And now you're winning in both areas.
Yep.
You're building up your credit. You're also getting the discount on using that, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards. Hopefully one of your executives is listening and they'll start sponsoring our show because we're dropping names. But, use it. That's fine. Pay it off. Pay it off before interest hits. And if you pay it off every month before that interest hits, you're getting benefits of it So, I think doing a cash out to do to do your home improvements is a great thing, and still be able to save. But Joe, there's another cash out refinance that is a very big one that, it can help a lot of stress when it comes to people that have kids that are graduating high school.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So to help pay for college.
Yeah. I mean, as a parent,
education.
and with what we do, I don't want to see my kids graduate college and have $200,000 worth of student loans. And guys, everybody's like, 200,000, that's a ton of money. Yes, it is. But you don't understand how many people we see that have student loan debts that are $200,000 or $150,000. So, if I can try to limit the amount of student loans my kids have to get, and my kids are doing a great job, and I know Sam's doing a great job, but they're not getting everything covered. So if I have to take a little bit of money out of the equity of my home to be able to do it, it's doing the right thing to better our society and better my family.
Yes. Yep.
So that one touches big on me, because that's what we did when we sold the house. We helped with college funds.
That's awesome. And that's, as parents, that's definitely what we want to do, and help our children, position them in the beginning of their life, get them in the right position to start, right?
Yeah.
With everything. You could also just kind of a tangent off that. And I know we're running out of time. We're going over, but I back when, interest rates were really going down, when they were in the 2s and 3s, I had some clients that were pulling out, 150,000 of equity out of their home to be able to invest. Now, whether stock market or purchasing another home, as far as like a rental property or something, that's another great use for this. If you have the equity there for it, right?
I'm going to say, if you're using the equity in your home to build more or like real estate investments that has a standard appreciation rate, I like that, right? I can speak to that. I am not very well educated. Yes, I have a finance degree, but when it comes to investments, like in the stocks, the bonds, Bitcoin, all that stuff, I caution you to make sure you're talking with a true financial advisor professional before you pull out equity of your home to put it into the market, unless there's a true plan on true appreciation. If you're just doing it to buy penny stocks and stuff like that, I caution you, because once that money's gone in that market, it's also gone in that equity. So I'm just saying, again, you always want to make sure you're talking with professionals, financial advisors, the professional financial advisors that are looking out for your best interest. Make sure you're talking to them before you call us to do a cash out refinance, only to invest it into the market, because the ups and downs in that market and stuff. But if you're investing into a land purchase, or you're investing into like a investment rental property, or an Airbnb that you're going to do that's in a vacation area, those are a little bit less risk, in my opinion, because you still have an equitable asset there, unless, something happens drastically, but then the whole United States is in trouble. If that happens in the housing market, which I don't see happening. It hasn't happened besides in 2007 and 8, but we've already back from it. So.
Well, Joe, I know we're running out of time. We actually are already over by a couple minutes. So just to kind of recap everything that we've covered in this episode, at least on refinancing, always run the numbers and look at a break-even point. I know we didn't get to touch on that much, but when running the numbers with Joe and I, we'll be able to let you know as far as how many months out you'll be able to break even on the investment of refinancing. And secondly, don't extend your loan term unnecessarily unless it helps with your budget. I know Joe touched on that earlier. And think about your long-term plans, folks. How long are you staying in the home, right? Like Joe had said, if it's going to be 7 or 10 years before you sell or move, this might be a good option to be able to look at, especially as interest rates are coming down. And be sure to compare alternatives. Like we were talking earlier, as far as HELOCs or closed-end seconds and stuff like that, because there could be a different alternative that would put you in a better financial position. So really the final takeaway in all this, folks, there's no one right refinance for everyone. It really depends on your goals, your equity, and your financial situation. So if you want to find out more about this and what would fit best for you, Joel, bring up the emails there that he's got. Feel free to reach out to us so that we can help you and see if it's the right fit for you. Next week, folks, be sure to tune in at our usual time, Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central, as we are going to dive into actually second mortgages and their uses for renovation loans, HELOCs, and closed-end seconds. So we're kind of doing a part 2 to all of this, kind of extending it into that subject. Want to be able to cover for all of you the differences between them so that you really know what is the right one for you. So thanks everyone for tuning in this week. Appreciate the comments and everything. If you want to catch up on some of our last episodes, or maybe you only got to catch the end of this episode, go to our YouTube channel at The Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast, where you'll be able to catch up on all of our episodes. And while you're there, be sure to hit the subscribe button, because yes, we are on a mission to get to 1,000 subscribers, and every like, share, and comment helps us to reach more homeowners like yourselves. So before we close things out, Joe, any last words or nuggets of advice for everyone?
As you guys can tell, Joe and I are very passionate, excuse me, about refinancing and helping clients. So, tune into our shows. Let us know if you have any questions. Really looking forward to next week. And we'll see you guys.
I'm Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy with the beard is Cup of Joe Mortgage, and we'll see you next week. Mr.